Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay, here to talk about the Royal Rumble 2000, 2022. Again, last night, the Royal Rumble 2022. It was a huge shock to me because we, we never have a wrestling pay per view, at least in the WWE, on a Saturday. Usually we always have it on a Sunday. Like I said, we got to go all the way back to the 1980s to find a pay per view. In fact, I think it was like SummerSlam 1988, the first SummerSlam, to find a pay per view that wasn't on a Sunday in the history of the WWE. Now, there have been WCW pay per views like NWO Sold Out 97 that have been on a Saturday, but very rare. So I thought, the Royal Rumble would be today. But no, it turns out it was yesterday, January the 29th, 2022. And this show was highly anticipated because not only that it was a Royal Rumble on a Saturday, but that it was rumored, as I said, in a previous video, that Ronda Rousey was coming back. She was making her return to the WWE after being gone for 3 years. She hadn't been there since WrestleMania 35 when she lost the title to Becky Lynch in a triple threat match. So she's making her return. Also highly anticipated. A match that we all wanted to wait. We all were waiting for. Basically, which is the main storyline that um at least SmackDown is revolving around, and that is the saga of Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar just recently regained the WWE Championship from Big E. So people were fully expecting Bobby Lashley to lose this match and Brock Lesnar to walk out as the WWE Champion. That didn't happen. This pay per view opens up with Seth Rollins, now called Seth freaking Rollins, um, challenging for the Universal Championship against Roman Reigns. Despite a controversial decision by disqualification, Seth Rollins wins the match, but he doesn't win the title. So therefore, um, Bobby Lashley retains the championship. So going into WrestleMania now, Bobby Lashley is your Universal Champion. Going into uh, the Royal Rumble, the Raw Women's Champion is Becky Lynch. She retained against Doudrop. Going into SmackDown, uh, the SmackDown uh, division, going into the SmackDown division, it is still Charlotte Flair as the champion. She comes into the Royal Rumble. She was eliminated. People are like, oh, I hope Charlotte Flair doesn't win the championship because Charlotte Flair, you know what I mean? People don't really like her. She is unliked by majority of the WWE fans. They don't want to see her in another match this coming WrestleMania. So as far as the men's championship, now we get down to the brass tacks of it. Um, the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble is Ronda Rousey. She returns triumphantly as I predicted. This is a pretty obvious win on her part. We all knew once she was coming back that Vince was going to give it to her and she was going to go on to face, obviously, Becky Lynch 1-on-1 at WrestleMania, the rematch. The shocker here at this pay per view was the men's Royal Rumble, and the winner of the men's Royal Rumble for 2022 is Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar loses the match to Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley is the new WWE champion. Paul Heyman double crosses Brock Lesnar. Paul Heyman was the counselor to the tribal chief Roman Reigns, and then Brock Lesnar comes back, and it seemed like he was on the side of Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, of course, turned face in that famous segment on SmackDown where Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman says to Roman Reigns, "I'm not protecting you from I'm not protecting Brock Lesnar from you. I'm protecting you from Brock Lesnar." And then we assume that Paul Heyman is going to be on the side of Brock Lesnar. Not the case. Paul Heyman hands Roman Reigns the championship, and he nails Lesnar with it, resulting in Bobby Lashley getting the win. So now Bobby Lashley goes into WrestleMania 38 as your WWE champion. Yeah, big dog. How's it going, man? It's early in the morning. I'm a little flustered, but yeah, everything is going good. How do you feel, bro, knowing that Bobby Lashley is now going to WrestleMania as the WWE champion? Who do you think he's going to face as the WWE champion? We obviously know that Brock Lesnar is going to go against Roman for the Universal Championship. Who do you think, in your opinion, Bobby is going to face for the WWE belt? I don't know, man. It could be anybody. You know, to me, I would like to see. Uh, I don't know, maybe another Big E program. Big E coming in. A little throwaway match too. Edge and Beth Phoenix versus Miz and Maurice. I did like how Beth Phoenix was dressed. You know what I mean? She kind of paid homage to Luna Vachon with her tattoos and everything. So that was pretty cool. But I wonder how this whole thing on the Bobby Lashley side is going to play out. Who's he going to face? Now, Matt, I'm hearing that WWE possibly want. for, I'm hearing that WWE wants to consolidate, unify the belts, put the belts together. So maybe Bobby Lashley, Roman, and Brock in a triple threat match. That could work. You know what I mean? Because we've never had three huge stars like this. Yeah, we had a triple threat match last year. People are gonna say, well, Edge, Roman Reigns, and Daniel Bryan, that was a triple threat match. But a triple threat match with both yeah, no surprise. In the men's Royal Rumble, nobody really was a surprise. In the women's Royal Rumble, We had Ivory come back in her in her right to censor costume. Ivory, that was classic because right to censor were the SJWs before there were SJWs. You know what I mean? So they were the original SJWs. So paying tribute to rights to censor was a timely thing. Like Big Dog was saying, no surprise entries in the Royal Rumble. Mickey James doing that Forbidden Door thing, quote unquote, being the Impact Women's Champion coming out in the Women's Royal Rumble. But like Big Dog said, all this speculation around Cody Rhodes. Supposedly Cody Rhodes was was going to appear on at the Royal Rumble, breaking the Forbidden Door with AEW, being an AEW competitor and the boss of AEW coming out in the WWE. We knew that wasn't going to happen. I mean, anybody that expected that to happen, realistically, probably thought that Vince McMahon was going to come out at Slamboree 98 as well. You know what I mean? You know, like there was this big hoopla about AEW. Big Dog is referencing. There's this big hoopla on the internet about AEW stars appearing. Hell, some people even said that Dan Housen, whatever his name is, the guy, the guy that just signed with AEW that appears under the ring with the with the funny name was going to appear surprisingly at WWE, or maybe Gunther. We didn't even see Gunther slash Volter appearing at the Royal Rumble. Hey, that would have pissed a lot of people off because of that story as well. But yeah, AEW jobber guys, I knew they weren't going to show up. It was a pretty lackluster Royal Rumble on the men's side, to be honest. The Royal Rumble match itself, other than Brock winning surprisingly, it was lackluster. I mean, it wasn't no surprises. It was a botch by Kofi Kingston. That Kofi Kingston botch. I'm not sure if that was a work or not. It was a planned spot, but it looked like it looked like he did something wrong and he possibly really got hurt. Um, yeah, Big Dog is absolutely right. AW, because they're plugged into the indies, Big Dog. You know what I mean? So they're the smart mark company. So people know who they are. It's kind of like ECW used to do the same thing. You know what I mean? ECW, original ECW, um, would have these guys show up, and we knew them from WCW and WWF, so we wouldn't question who they really were. There wouldn't be no promo packages. There wouldn't be any vignette introductions, nothing, because people were plugged into the sheets. People were plugged into the other two promotions. Yeah, that's true. Big Dog, like somebody like if Cena or The Rock showed up, that would change AW forever. That would be the equivalent of Hulk Hogan jumping, or even when Kurt Angle jumped in TNA in '06. But I don't see that happening. Even though AEW has Tony Khan and Shai Khan have the money, they don't have the the recognition, they're not perceived in the minds of the people as a big league company. As a matter of fact, it just looks like a company that Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks founded just so that they could be main eventers because they were never going to be main eventers in the WWE. I mean, Young Bucks weren't even in the WWE, and Cody was never going to be a main eventer in the WWE with Stardust as his gimmick. That's just yeah. AW is called ANW. ANW. Right. Cody could have. There was a window of opportunity where Cody could have been a main eventer in the WWE, and I say that was like around 09 ish, like when they had Legacy. If he'd have turned on Randy Orton at that point and become a babyface, he could have been a huge star. Dusty was still alive, and Dusty was involved with creative a lot at that point, but he was just too green at that point, so they weren't gonna do it that way. And plus, Shawn Michaels and he kind of rubbed Shawn Michaels and Triple H the wrong way in that program, so he was never gonna get far. So he had to actually do what Vern Gagne did in 1960 in 1961 and found his own company in order in order to be a star. Just like how Vern Gagne broke away from the AWA and broke away from the NWA and founded the AWA just so he could have the championship. That's exactly what Cody Rhodes did. He had to found his own company and get some money mark sucker like Tony Khan and Shai Khan to give him backing in order to be a star. People will say, well, he sold out Madison Square Garden uh, the first when he was on top in ROH. Yeah, but it was WrestleMania weekend. It was one of the biggest WrestleManias of all time. They were going to do that anyway. And plus, when he made he made the bet with Dave Meltzer, it took him longer than he said that it would take him, right? So he didn't actually win that bet. He just ended up being lucky timing. Taking nothing away from AEW. Yeah, they're a huge company. They're number two, but there is only really there is only really one company. WWE doesn't even think about AEW. Doesn't even think that AEW is competition. It just looks like a pathetic attempt by Cody Rhodes to found his own company. So he does, so becomes a top star in the United States because obviously he was doing big things in Japan, but he was one of the many members of the Bullet Club, and there were like 5,000 members. Yeah, I did see the new and improved Ronda Rousey. Yeah, she definitely did her thing, man. And those titties. I think Vince should consider bringing back Braun Penny's matches now. But how about that? Two former MMA stars, Brock Lesnar and Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey on top for the men's and women's Royal Rumble, respectively. And not only MMA stars, but UFC champions. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, WrestleMania 38. What are they gonna do for WrestleMania? I don't know. Brock versus Heyman. Maybe they feel like Brock doesn't need Heyman anymore because Big Dog, you can't even front, man. In these past couple of months, and I was never a Brock. I was always a Brock Lesnar fan since he first debuted in WWE in 2002. But right, but I was never a fan of his promos. But over the past couple of weeks, his promos have gotten a lot better. The stuff he's been doing with Sami Zayn, the stuff he's been doing with Bobby Lashley, the promos, um, have gotten a lot better. So maybe they feel like he doesn't need Heyman in his corner anymore, and that Roman benefits more from Heyman. I don't know.
You know what? They didn't freaking clean the lucky they go in the wheelchair. They didn't clean the freaking bank, the stairs, or nothing. So I'm going shopping, but I'm saying,